All right. Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to Cliff Lede Vineyards Live. And we are coming to you live from the lab. We'll find out why in a moment. But great to have you back on the program. We're excited tonight to talk about two new releases, two amazing wines that I actually really enjoy drinking, especially in their youth. And we'll taste those. We'll talk about them. But a couple just items I want to always mention, of course, say hello to our members out there. Please use the chat if you have questions, comments. Let us know what you're drinking. Let us know what you've had recently. Paul's here from Minnesota. How's it going, Paul? Nice to see you. Also want to mention, of course, all the great things happening here in Napa. Please come visit us. Come check us out. I know we're in the lab, so you can't see how beautiful it is outside right now, but it's literally 80 degrees and sunny and gorgeous. And I think next week he's looking to be in the 70s, and always an exciting time to come with harvest happening. Outside of that, of course, we've got all kinds of really exciting things happening toward the end of the year and into the new year. I want to mention a couple of them. If you're thinking of coming out to Napa in December, there's a great event called Inspire. It's an event that we've been involved in for many years. It's to benefit the Alzheimer's Association. And we'll be pouring their wine there with many of our peers, and the wines that are being poured at Inspire are some of the best in Napa Valley. So check that out. I believe it's in the first couple weeks of December, but it's a really great time. We also have in January the Artisans of Food and Wine, a new event that takes place in the Boca Raton. I went last year with a group, again, a bunch of great people from the Napa Valley, and awesome event. New, great surroundings. If you've ever been to that part of Florida, it's fantastic and a great time of year to get out there. So I wanted to mention that one. Valentine's dinner coming in February. We're going to bring that back. I believe the information is online at this point, so you can take a look. We have our annual Vineyard to Vintner event with the Stag's Leap District Wine Growers. It takes place in April. In May, we've got the Rock Block Party, which I know you all love. That's one of our funnest parties of the year. So all kinds of fun things coming up in the new year, and maybe even some other new announcements coming about things that I'm going to be involved with. One is potentially a Mexico collaboration trip that we're going to do, and more information on that coming. And then, of course, the cruise. That comes into July. So if you want to come cruise around the Mediterranean for a week with me, drink great wine, hang out, please check that out. If you go to our website, cliffledevineyards.com, and click on calendar, you can see all of these things and all the links and all the info's there. All right. But that's enough time on that. I want to get into tasting wine. You guys know me. I'm always eager to get the wine in the glass. And I've got an amazing guest tonight that we haven't had on the program yet. And I didn't even know what I could say. She's got a great palate. She's been with us since 2022. So just a few years now, but the winemaking team here, I was just talking to Chris, and he's like, Keely's one of the greatest workers we have here. She works here, all day, all night. She stays late. We tell her to go home. She's still working. So it's my pleasure to introduce Keely Ryan, our assistant winemaker.
Hi, everyone. I'm Keely. Great to be here, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you on. I know we've talked about having you join for many, many sessions, and finally, I don't know, Chris, Travis, I guess, I don't know what they're doing, making wine or something like that, but we're gonna steal a little bit of Keely's time. And we're in the lab because this is kind of, for one, our space upstairs is being used right now, so we had to be called audible. But I love being in the lab because this is kind of like your home base here.
Yeah, right? Yeah, kind of a blessing in disguise having to move down here last minute. But this is where the magic happens, dare I say.
So Keely, tell us, how did you get into wine? How did you end up here at Cliff Lede? Give us the background. I think everyone loves hearing the stories.
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to Fresno State for winemaking. I graduated in 2020. I'm from Fresno, born and raised. Go Bulldogs, if there's any Fresno State fans out there. But yeah, when I was prior to enrolling at Fresno State and in the enology program there, I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. My dad, Fresno's a big ag town, big ag city. So my dad has always been involved in agriculture, and he, growing up, I'd always see him in different ventures in the ag industry. And when it came time for me to go to school, like I said, I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. I had some inkling, but I just knew I wanted to do something creative. And that kind of dipped my toe as far as the idea goes into a bunch of different things. But I wanted to do something creative, really wanted to do something that provided stability and that challenged me. And, I came to my dad and I expressed those thoughts to him and what I was wanting. And he honestly just encouraged me, hey, Keely, there's an enology program here at Fresno State. I think you should really check it out. It's small, it's really hands-on. And that's exactly what I did. I started right off the bat at the enology program, and he was absolutely right. It was really hands-on. My professors were incredibly passionate at what they were learning. I can't say that growing up I had this passion that was within me, but I do remember I would grab the corks from my parents whenever they would have wine. I would smell them and just loved it and kept them. I didn't, maybe it was tapping into that, but when I started college, I really enjoyed what I was learning. My professors were, like I said, extremely passionate, very knowledgeable from all different backgrounds. And it was just a small knit community in that program. And the more classes I took, the more I was learning, the more that passion really grew. And so then fast forward, I started working at the Fresno State Winery while I was in school. We have a commercial winery there. So it was really amazing to be able to go through the whole process from in class to, sorting grapes and bottling and then, trying to sell your product. And then once I graduated, I had the pleasure of working a little bit up north. My parents live in Chico, California now. And so I worked up there for a little while and then came to Napa in 2020. And yeah, so I've been here for almost 5 years now. I moved in November. And so in just a few, short years, I've really learned a lot and then joined the Cliff Lede team in 2022, in February of 2022. So, got the whole year here, which was really amazing. And being able to work with Napa Valley fruit, especially here at Cliff Lede, I just want to touch on is, we get fruit from amazing vineyard sites up and down the valley. And so it's really a treat for me as a younger person in the industry to work with fruit from up and down the valley and see comparatively how it all grows. And we can have one day we're bringing in fruit from Calistoga, and the next day we're bringing fruit from Carneros, or maybe a few days later with the growing conditions over there. But same varietal, but completely different conditions. So it's just really been such a pleasure.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I love hearing the excitement and the passion from a young person in the wine industry, which I'm not so much anymore, which is surprising to me. But I know I really love hearing that. I mean, it sounds like your dad had a big impact on your trajectory in wine, and obviously mine did as well. Yeah. So sometimes it comes from pops. Do you recall having a wine that really spoke to you though? Was there a moment you had something that was just like eye-opening and you kind of knew like that's what I want to do, or was it just more of a gradual thing?
That's a great question. I think it was a little more gradual. I don't have a specific. I mean, maybe just off the top of my head, I can't think of something, but
it was pretty much the first time she tasted Cliff Lede wine. That's the answer she was gonna say.
Exactly. No, but I really do think, I think for me, where the passion really grew was seeing, for one thing, how creative you can be within winemaking, which really stuck out to me. And, is the case with every winemaker. I think that they can kind of put their own stamp on things. But I think honestly, just the more I learned and the more, I once heard something, a professor told me, learning about winemaking is like sweeping the Grand Canyon. Like you just can't necessarily learn it all. Yeah. There's always something new coming at you, which is impossible. And I don't know, I think about that all the time because even though I'm, I've been in the industry, I guess, almost 10 years now, it's not that long. But I'm very aware I have so much more to learn. I think that's really exciting. But yeah, as far as like the one moment, I don't have a specific moment.
Just haven't had it yet.
No, right.
Maybe you'll have them tonight. We'll see.
I know, seriously. But I've had the pleasure of having a lot of really great wines. And I think that over time, it's really just solidified my interest and passion. So
cool. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your background. So to give you guys an idea, I mean, Keely, we mentioned she's in here in the lab all the time, running analysis and whatnot, but a lot of my interaction with Keely has been with the blending team. So sitting up at the blending table and putting the wines together. And I have to say, you've got an amazing palate, much better than mine. So we are going to taste some wine, and you are going to have to really help describe what we're tasting. And I guess these are the 2023s. So we're going to start with the 2023 Crossfade, which you'll notice is in the new label, which is very much like, of course, the Rhythm label, the Rhythm package. And well, that was a plan we've had for many years to kind of align some of our single vineyard wines with our proprietary blends, which Crossfade is, giving them all sort of a similar feel in terms of packaging. So you'll notice that as that comes in the shipment, but it's still the great same inspiration with two generations coming together. I love this that we've got both my dad and my signature on the back. That's probably the only time you will see my signature on something, because it's such an intergenerational story, bringing Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc together. But 2023 Crossfade, maybe tell us a little bit about 2023 and what your thoughts were on the vintage.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'll backtrack just super briefly to give a little bit of backstory. So my first vintage here at Cliff Lede, part of the Cliff Lede team, was in 2022. And we had a pretty big heat event that year. And we were just navigating that, just caused harvest to be a little bit of a whirlwind, but still got really amazing, incredible wines from that vintage. But we roll with what Mother Nature brings us. And with that harvest, I'd hear Chris and Travis say, this is kind of a unique harvest to start and to join the team on. And so I was really eager to see what the 2023 harvest would bring. And would that be quote unquote more normal, or what would that harvest look like? And were we treated in the 2023 harvest. It was just incredibly mild conditions throughout the growing season. No major heat events, no excessive rain, no fires. And so it was just really an amazing harvest. We were, like I said, it was just such a treat. And so with that being said, we had, longer hang times for our fruit. So even further development of those flavor profiles, really complex tannin, which ended up being, the backbone and gave a lot of structure to our 2023 wines. And then really bright acidity as well, which gave a lot of life to these wines, as I'm sure you can still taste right now. And
I'm just getting blown away with the Cabernet Franc here. This is probably one of the most aromatic renditions of this wine we've had. And obviously it's young. It was just bottled in July. And so it's got a lot of primary notes and just tons of florals. It's sitting with you guys and tasting and experiencing all the different Cabernet Franc lots we work with. You can tell there's definitely a lot of that aromatic, probably that Madrona Ranch coming through here, but also Cabernet Franc from our estate here in Stag's Leap District, Cabernet from Calistoga, so from estate properties. What are you picking up?
It's extremely plush right off the bat. And that Cabernet Franc, I always feel like there is a little bit of espresso, some little dark chocolate in there. The Cabernet Franc it's brooding in the best way. It really shines through. Even with this specific vintage it's not quite a 50-50 blend, but that Cabernet Franc really does shine through and complement the Cabernet Sauvignon so nicely. I also want to point out we have 3% Merlot in this, which brings just such a nice softness.
Really quickly, the blend is 62 Cabernet Sauvignon, 32% Cabernet Franc, 3% Merlot, 2% Petit Verdot, and 1% Malbec. I have to guess that the Malbec probably snuck in from Carneros, thinking that it might have been part of a co-ferment.
Yes, that and the Petit Verdot both.
Yeah,
part of a co-ferment with, with Carneros and with Calistoga.
Beautiful.
Yeah, really, really lovely.
I also love, the direction that these wines have kind of taken maybe since 2021 when we first started seeing it, but then, you joined in 22 and then obviously 23 and you've worked on 24 and now 25. I'm looking at the alcohol. This is 13.8%. You guys are really creating these wines that have texture and body and richness, but they're not like big, heavy hitting wines.
No.
Can you comment on that? Is that something that does that appeal to you? As a a younger wine drinker, is that something that that matters to you? And is that something you work with this team on sort of championing or?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think more than anything, we really like to have the fruit and the terroir of each vineyard side really speak for itself. And so I know Jason touched on some of the different vineyard sides that make up this specific wine and then different varietals. But just as the years have gone on, we really just like to have that, like I said, speak for itself. And so I think, if the alcohol is a little bit lower, then maybe it would be in 2015 or so, then, that's kind of the way we're going. We're not aiming for a high alcohol wine if that's not what is going to stay true to these varietals and the vineyard types that they're derived from. I think also, if you're asking me specifically, I think like maybe the younger generation would be really pleased with an alcohol level of 13.8 because it's really inviting. And these wines, which I really love, they're really approachable right off the bat, but you could lay this down and have it, years down the line. I know it's not a sales pitch, but you could, I always, in my mind, like, okay, you need
to get them, open them up, drink them, and then buy some more.
No, exactly. Having multiple, seriously, because I feel like that's something I've always been told is like, hey, at least I was always told, buy 3, you can open one now, open one in a few years, and then, open another one down the line. And I'd really be curious to see what.
I think this is a great wine for immediate, consumption. I think it's kind of fashioned that way. And I mean, having, again, worked with you guys at the blending table, I often push for that with this wine. This was a wine that I had a lot of say in conceptually putting it together. And, many of our wines are very structured. And, you think about poetry and just how it, it's like that rose that just needs some time to kind of blossom, right? This wine, though, we always felt like picking lots that maybe were a little more accessible because we knew it was going to be one of the earliest shipments in the wine club. So we want people to be able to open it and enjoy. So we picked Cabernet from, Calistoga, where it's a little warmer and you get a little bit more fruit forward qualities. You mentioned that 3% Merlot. It just gives it that little nice plush quality. I think you guys did a wonderful job with this wine, and if it's, foreshadowing how the 2023 is going to be, it's pretty exciting. We'll get to taste all of those in future episodes, I guess. But Crossfade, this is a fun wine. I mean, again, tribute to multi-generational winemaking, bringing Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc together. Excellent vintage. Comment from Dan saying it's really nicely balanced. It is. And I think, honestly, you're going to notice that with all the 23s. They've got a really nice textural element to them. There's tannin and there's concentration, but they're definitely not like big, structured, brooding, Chris calls them like the Schwarzenegger wines, like big, strong. So beautiful wine. Plenty of that. We made 1,260 cases. So if you like Crossfade, let us know if you want some more, if you need some for the holidays. I'm loving the new package. I think it's really striking. It's got that same look as Rhythm. So truly loving that. And just love the story. It's a nice story to share, right? 2 generations coming together and beautiful. So next up, we're going to taste.
Even as it's opening up a little bit more, I'm not to interrupt you.
Oh, yeah, no. That's what you're here to do.
Even further milk chocolate and almost like a little bit of cassis in there as well. But it's really, really lovely. It's so plush. And, we haven't had these open for too long, but they're just continuing to evolve as they're sitting in the glass. And I do also want to mention, Jason, just before you move on, when my first blending session was the 21s, and that was only the second iteration of Crossfade. So it was really fun just to see, and still is, to see Jason's creative approach with Crossfade as kind of the pioneer of the Crossfade wine. So, and just as it's become more of a pillar in our portfolio. So just wanted to mention that.
We owe them the thank you because
seriously.
Crossfade was only supposed to be one vintage, and it's because the wine clubs, because our members liked it and bought it and asked for more, and that's why it's continued. So it wouldn't happen without them. So anyway, thank you for the comment. I appreciate that, and of course, cheers to everyone that supports us. Family owned and operated. You gotta, that's a good thing to support right now. That's beautiful. I agree. It's opening up. And I love this time of year because these wines are being released. We're doing the webinars. I'm also sitting with the critics that come through to taste with us, and so I get to taste these wines like The last time we tasted them was only 2-3 weeks ago now, and we tasted them earlier in September. And it seems like every few weeks now, they're just getting more and more expressive, because you do have that period after bottling where they kind of get a little closed up. But wow, no, that's great. That's going to be a great wine to enjoy later tonight.
Oh yeah.
Okay, Howell Mountain. Everybody loves Howell Mountain. We know this amazing appellation north of us here in Stags Leap District, higher elevation. Also a little bit of a label refresh here. Not a big change, looks very similar, but you'll notice when you get these that nicer paper, a little bit of an upgrade there, and just aligning it a little closer to the rest of the portfolio. So not a whole lot to express there, but what really matters is what's in the bottle here. And I guess maybe this little stamp on the bottom that says Vineyard Selection. The whole purpose of this series of wines, whether it's the Oakville, the Rutherford, the Howell Mountain, is to find these vineyards in Napa that we kind of feel are like these unsung heroes, these vineyards that, they're not big flashy names like Poetry or Tokalon or Rhythm or what have you. These are vineyards that we go out and find, that Chris and Eric and the team here go and discover, more or less. And what we do is we buy basically enough fruit to make some wine for the wine club, bring it in, make Cabernet out of it. We maybe blend a little bit of something here or there. I'm gonna go to my notes here. Yeah, a little Merlot and a little Petit Verdot. Of course, we always want to put the best wine in the bottles we can without affecting the style or the expression of the site. But this is basically, it's 96% Cabernet Sauvignon, all from Howell Mountain. And what do we know about Howell Mountain?
Howell Mountain.
How would you kind of sum it up? How would you sum up the appellation?
Great question. It's high elevation in the eastern side of Napa, usually above the fog line. And really densely packed pine trees over there. So it's, if you want to picture, you can picture these vineyards kind of nestled in dense pine trees, and
completely different than what we see here in Stags Leap.
Completely, yes. Especially if we kind of get used to the Stags Leap District, climate and the aromatics that come with Stags Leap, just being here every day. So it really is such a treat, honestly, to go up to Howell Mountain, visit the sites. And kind of touching on what I mentioned before is something I love about winemaking is that you can have the same varietal from two different vineyard sites and have it expressed so differently, that terroir and the environment around it, and that's very evident with Howell Mountain. You really get right off the bat, that forest floor kind of pine, and it's great that, in my opinion, that these are released ahead of the holidays, because just having that forest floor and pine quality, it's cozy to me. I'm also getting, it almost has like a soy, mushroom umami note to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite inviting, and it kind of adds to that coziness, in my opinion.
It is very deep. It's very, pulls you right in.
And Howell Mountain is really known for its mountainous tannin. So something else that I really appreciate about working with Chris and Travis on the winemaking team, and I've learned from them, is that a way for us to let that terroir, let that mountainous tannin speak for itself, is to not, to be mindful of how much new oak we're aging this wine in. And so comparatively, to our other wines, it's a smaller percentage than maybe Poetry or
52% here.
Right. And that, again, is just to let Howell Mountain speak for itself, the essence of Howell Mountain, that pine, that forest floor, the complex tannin that mountain provides. And really just the reason we add new oak in general is just to add a little bit of intrigue, a little bit of edge, and in my opinion, just to kind of give a stage for that tannin to kind of shine on.
Again, very beautiful lift to this wine and vibrancy. You're speaking to all the deep, flavor notes and qualities, but it's not it's not like a dense, chewy wine, as Howell Mountain can easily get there, as you mentioned, with the tannin profiles and just what mountain fruit is kind of known for. So, I mean, I think honestly, this is a wine that Chris and Travis and team here has really spent a lot of time refining over the years. For those of you who go back with us many years, some of those, the early like 2012s, 2013s into the 2015s, like the Howells were like, you want to talk Schwarzenegger wines? that was like the definition. And so I think they've done a really excellent job of figuring out the vineyard and the appellation and the fruit and what is going to make the best expression of something that isn't necessarily something you have to lay down for 10 to 15 years to really enjoy. Again, pulled the cork 30 minutes ago, tasting great, very, very Howell, very like this is like Howell terroir.
Oh, for sure.
And so it would be fun. I mean, if you're having a dinner party or something, like open a bottle of this and then open, say, like a bottle of Rhythm, which is very Stags Leap District, and have, kind of a side by side just to see same winemaking team, same facility, same approach. I mean, I guess Rhythm has maybe a little bit of Merlot and Franc and other varieties in it, but two very different appellations that really, and those two wines specifically really speak to those places that they're from. I love it. I mean, that's truly what it's all about, right? Yeah. It's like encapsulating a place and time in the bottle versus just making something that just like, well, it just tastes delicious, right? Like This is delicious, but it also tells a story of an amazing vineyard, an amazing vintage, and what a treat to have these wines tonight.
I feel like it really does paint a picture, like you're saying, of Howell Mountain. Even just picture a vineyard nestled in, a lot of pine trees on this mountain on east side of Napa. Like I feel like you can kind of envision where this is coming from, and even just that description in of itself brings like the essence of drinking this wine, if that makes sense. Almost like a feeling.
I'm thinking you could do, both these wines would be great with beef, something grilled, but I would eat like a chimichurri or something, something that's like going to bring some brightness and some herbaceousness into the fold. Would be wonderful with these. Maybe like lamb, something that has a little gaminess on the Howell. Maybe it's got a little bit more wild quality. I don't know. What do you think? Any other food pairings?
No, I think that's great. I mean, I think that having kind of something with, like you said, something that's kind of fatty. These wines do have a really bright acidity to them as well, and there's a lot of life to them. And so I think having, like you said, something with chimichurri, I think where my mind goes, where I am in the kitchen, I'm more of an appetizer girl. And so I think of something with a balsamic glaze that could really, go nicely with this, or even just like fresh tomatoes, maybe something with mint.
That mushroom umami thing too would be a nice compliment to the Howell. Great wines. I mean, you guys are doing an amazing job. We still have some time before we start talking too much about 2024, obviously, as the 2023s are just being released. But what about 2025? How did harvest go this year?
Harvesting really well. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Yeah.
So,
and we're done, by the way. Yeah. We've got it done for two weeks maybe now?
Yeah, about 2 weeks. Yeah, we've been kind of, we always kind of picture it in like different stages, kind of riding different waves. So we brought in all of our fruit and it was really successful. Really concentrated flavor profiles, great structure, and again, really bright acidity with these wines as we're, a lot of them just finished fermenting. So it's still really early stages, but these wines are just going to continue to soften over time. It's really exciting. These wines are already turning out really amazing. But yeah, right now, just to get a peek into kind of what we're doing right now, like Jason said, all of our fruit's in. And we're just starting to barrel things down. Pump overs are done, so fermentation's all finished. And so now we're just putting wine in barrels and pressing out all of the skins that are left from that. So filling our cave up one barrel at a time, for sure.
I've heard good things from what you guys have tasted, and just the color of the vintage is very intense, right? Very deep and dark. And Chris he said this at a group I hosted the other day. He's like, it's like staining the hoses.
It truly is. Yes, it truly is. And so we have to really be mindful to spread everything out very quickly afterwards. But yeah, colors are very intense, which is amazing to see just this early on. But it's shaping up to be an amazing vintage. So I'm really, really excited to see how these wines age in barrel and come to life even further, especially as we start blending, hopefully in December, early January, kind of go first pass.
Exciting stuff. And it was one of those vintages where, we kind of were threading the needle the whole time. There was, there was the fire up in Calistoga in August, which thankfully did not impact anything we have. So that's great. And and then it was a little bit of rain, spotty rain. But we got everything in before the big rain. Yeah. So, a vintage like this plays into our strengths because it was nice and cool, even. And again, we were able to avoid any of the major impacts, and it's going to create wines that have this beautiful natural vibrancy and freshness that we want to champion. I think it's something that you'll see in 2023 vintage, 24. And I hope everybody loves the wines. Those were great. You were great. Thank you. We'll see if there's any more questions in the chat here before we move on. Let's see. Oh, Carol's on. Hey, Carol, good to see you again. We've got, she's got a question here. Will Cliff Lede have a rosé wine?
Oh, that's a question for you.
That is, I guess so. I mean, I think you have to make wines that you're passionate about. I think the wine business truly, you heard from Keely, right? Like coming up and learning about wine, and it was her passion for wine was being driven by her experience. And I think to be in the wine business, it's not an easy business to be in, and you really have to be passionate about what you're making, what you're selling. And unfortunately, rosé is one of those things that myself, my dad, truly my whole family is not uber passionate about. When it comes to Cabernet Sauvignon, when it comes to Sauvignon Blanc, now we're making Chardonnay. We love Chardonnay. So, I mean, if we're going to make wine, it's going to be something that we really feel that we love, and that we really feel we can offer exceptional value on. Because that's the other piece of this, right? It's not all about what do I like and what do I like to drink. I mean, that's a big reason as to why you'll start. But eventually you got to listen to your customers and what they like. And when it comes to rosé, I just don't think it would be in our best interest to try to produce a rosé and come up with something that might not hit that same level of quality to value that we achieve with all of our other wines. There's great rosés out there in Napa, outside of Napa. And if you're a rosé fan, I encourage you to drink them. But I've always felt, if I feel like refreshing, if I'm not really necessarily feeling like Cabernet, I'm going to reach for our Sauvignon Blanc. I'm going to reach for our Chardonnay, and they've always kind of fit that segment for me. Do you drink a lot of rosé?
No, I was just gonna say I'm the same exact way. I don't really. My mom is a big rosé fan, okay. But when she comes to visit, if we taste rosé, it's really it's for her. And I'm the same way. If I want something refreshing, I do reach for Sauvignon Blanc as well. But I know a lot of people who love rosé, so it does have its place in the market. But yeah, it's just not.
I think you have to be really thoughtful about your approach when you're making rosé, and it's very easy to take the easy way out and make a wine that is kind of almost a byproduct of what you're already doing. And those wines to me aren't very compelling. So the answer is not right now. Who knows? Maybe one day, but not right now. And so we'll see. But again, it's about passion, I think, first and foremost, and then it's about what people really want to enjoy. So for now, we've got some excellent Cabernets, Bordeaux blends, Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, all of which, of course, are available. So if you feel like adding some more wine to your club shipments, take a look, see what's online. Of course, we'll have the December club shipment coming up, and we will be on to tell you all about those wines. And I look forward to that. And I'll just reiterate how much we appreciate all of you for supporting us and for continuing to do so. If there's anything I can do, please feel free to reach out to us. We hope to see you either here or in your market in the near future. And anything else? I guess that's it. We tasted the wines. We got to know Keely a little bit, which was fun. And here we are in the lab. We could run some SO2s while we're doing this. Like we're right here making it happen.
Demo.
Yeah, maybe next time.
Yeah,
could
seriously.
Do some lab work
Tune
live.
in.
Cliff Lede Lab Work Live. All right, we'll see. Anyways, thanks again. Cheers. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
It's easy, right? No big deal.
Easy.
All right, cheers.
Thank you, guys.